Hi everyone, welcome back to the FUKU-2 build, which is the AAP-01 CTM FUKU build. We're going balls to the wall, fitting all the parts that they do, or majority of the parts that they do. There's a couple of little niggly things here and there, like there's a bit of play in the bolt, so like the iron sight doesn't quite hold that spring guide. So I imagine they want you to use their spring guide. However, can we just push that forward? Let's give that a quick go before we get into today's video. Yeah, I can push that forward. So that can move forwards and backwards, that iron sight. So now, yeah, let's took that play right out. We built the upper in the last video. Today we're going to look at some of the lower parts. And we're also going to take a look at the magazine extensions eventually. Whether I do that in this video or the next one, we'll find out. But we've got a very cool looking, more modernized lower here, so we're going to have to get to grips with that. I believe it's a 2mm Allen key. Yes, it is. We could take these grip screws out. So we've got one side off, and we're going to take the other side off. Everybody always asks in every video what screwdriver this is, and I have said it many times. It's the kinetic driver from Placed Atoms. That's the one. Right, we took the grip panels off. We're going to keep the screws just in case we don't get any in this little box, which I don't think we do. Oh, actually, we do. We do get screws. Are they the same screws? I think they are. So we don't need to worry about that. We can keep them as spares, and we can start really dressing up this lower frame. Quickly whack these screws in. Now, what I did experience with previous CTM frames was the screw that secures into here. This used to snap off when trying to fit it straight away. So I'm hoping with this newer style frame, they fix that issue. It would be nice, because we don't want that snapping off. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You've got two screws on either side. You've got pins that hold everything in place. But, you know, it would be nice that wouldn't snap off like the old Ruger style lowers that they did. So we've got some grip panels on there, and we can finally get a look at how this thing is going to come together, and it's going to look a lot better than that standard lower that we were using. So we'll do the mag release, and this does come with options. So first we'll get to fit in the mag release itself. Now we do need to nick the spring from this lower. You'll see I've done this many times before. We just push that spring off the mag release. We could pull the mag release out, and then I'm going to use some needle nose pliers to pull that spring out of the lower. And then I'm basically just going to flip the process. I'm going to place this spring in the little slot, which might be, again, easier to do with some needle nose pliers. Fat fingers don't help. This is going to be a very difficult thing to film, but I'll do my best. We're basically just placing it in there, although it doesn't want to sit in. So just push it in, place it in, and push it towards the front of the grip. And you take your mag release, I'm going to slide that through. Don't worry about the screw just yet. Place that in the lower, and then we can get that spring just with your fingernail or something, and you just want to pull it into that slot on the mag release. So we'll use our pliers, push it up like that, and then it will fit into that slot on the mag release. And now we have a working mag release. So we'll pull this screw out. It's a long screw. It looks similar to the ones that we had here. However, these little ones have got thread lock added, so They're the same size, so I'm going to swap the screw that comes with it to one of them. And we've got two choices of mag release buttons. So we've got, oh God, I nearly threw that, it's so light. We've got the smaller one like that. Just trying to place this to get a feel for it, which is more than enough. Or we have a stupendously sized one, which is also even more extended. I'm not sure if that's going to get in the way. So what I might do is I'll fit the lower profile one, and then we can always come back and change that part out, because we've got the bigger button. We're just going to put in our little bits box from building this pistol. Just screw that in like so. And I think, again, it would have been nice to have had a black screw, but it seems to work perfectly fine. Got a mag. Yeah, more than enough. I don't think I need the big button. My thumb can find that really easy. The grip is actually feeling really comfortable. I do also need to pick up their magwell base, which they didn't have in stock when I ordered. So that'll be something else that I need to get. Right, that's in. What else we've got to do? We've got to take the internals out of here, and we've got to fit the trigger. So to do that, it's a very simple process. First, we need to take out all the gubbins from the standard lower. So we can take out the safety. We don't actually need the safety with the, I think I pushed it out to the wrong side again. So let's push it out the other way. I do that every time. Like that. I don't think we need that because there's no space for it on this lower. So once we've took that out, we've got 3 screws. So we'll do the center screw first. And when screwing this into the lower, be very careful with it, because you don't want to strip and snap that tab off like I did on the other CTM lowers that I've worked on. It literally takes no force whatsoever. I'm going to push that pin out left to right. That pin slides out. Got 2 more pins, 1 and 2. Should be able to just push them. Yeah, they're not insanely tight. The pin at the back has it's got like a relief cut on it, so it's thinner in the middle. And then we've got the one on the grip. So once we've done that, we can actually, should be able to pull this out just by pulling up on the hammer assembly. Now what I'm going to do is I didn't want to do that, but it's out. Just be very careful when you're removing that stuff. We're going to need the button for the back, so we're going to take the button and the spring. If I can pull that off. Just use some pliers to pull that off. And I believe that's everything we need, so we can put that to one side. We'll put the little spring for the button on the little mounting piece. These springs deform really, really easy. So just be as careful as you can with them. You'll see this one's bent already. They're just a really soft metal. There we go, like that. It's only to hold the pistol together, so nothing important. And then that button will literally sit in there. So that's nice. Right. Before we're going to fit all these bits in now, I'm going to have to do a hammer at some point, which there should be a guide already on the channel how to do a hammer. But we're also going to have to do is we're going to have to switch the trigger out. So we'll pull this apart here. Pull the trigger. I think there was some extra grub screws as well. And No pin though, so in terms of the next speed trigger compared to this one, the next speed one came with more more hardware. It aren't a hard pin to push out, left to right. Then we can pull the trigger bar out. This will then go in to the new trigger. Then we can push that pin in, and we will have to tap that in. So we need a pin punch, and we need a hammer. And we can tap this in. Sorry to the headphone users out there. Right, now with these adjustment screws, there's two ways that you can actually do them. So you can fit them from the front like this. So imagine that's your trigger bar, and what this one will do is it adjusts where it will engage. Is that going to be out? I don't think we can actually do that from the front. I don't think it's going to allow us. But yeah, there's two ways you can do it. You can have them where you adjust them from the front, or you can fit them at the back, and you can. It's usually a lot easier to do it that way if you're setting it up. There are some smaller grub screws here. This one seems a little bit long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that long grub screw because that is horrendously long. And I think that's why they give you multiple screws, so you can use different sizes. So I'm going to change that out for a shorter one. Just means we'll have more adjustability on it because the threads go all the way through. And then this one here, I'm just going to remove for now. And once you set this up, you probably want to put a bit of like very, very low strength Loctite on it. So to assemble this all back in, there's various things we need to do. We need that spring. We'll sit on there like so. That goes over the trigger. We've got the little spring which goes on the trigger bar. And then while we're trying to do some finger gymnastics holding this all together, this goes into this part. Trigger bar spring clips just on the side there. And then I think we should be able to drop this in, as long as we don't mess it up like that. So the springs and pins and stuff are going to want to jump out like they've done. It's not a problem, just take your time. I think the last time I did this, I managed to do it in one. But this one is going to fight me, so. Don't get frustrated if you drop it like I've just done. Just take your time, keep you cool, because the angrier you get, the more mistakes you're going to make. Just have to try and be very careful holding this all in place. Pull that spring over there. Make sure the trigger stays in place. It's always good to keep pressure like that on the bar. And we're going to place this in. Once you got to this stage, you're pretty much there and you should be okay. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the main pin that goes through the trigger and the slide release. That should hold everything in place. So we need to situate it on the slide release. You can look through just to see if everything's lined up, which it's not at the moment. Again, just take your time, it will all slot in. If it doesn't, just go around again. What you could do to make your life easier, which I haven't done, is just pop one of these screws. I think it was that one, not that it matters. into the housing. And that should line everything up, and that doesn't want to go in. Okay. This normally goes a lot smoother. Am I going to have to use a hammer? Who knows? It does seem like it's stuck. There we go. Felt it click in. And we're gonna give it a tap. And that is the sound of success. Make sure that pin's flush. Sticking out just a little bit. That'll do. We can fit the housing screws. So you've got one on each side. I have found with the other CTM lowers that these don't always line up perfectly. So I'm not sure if the mould might be a little bit off. This one seems to be working pretty good. And then this screw, which is always the problematic one. I think because you have to kind of cut the threads into the plastic as you do it. I'm hoping they've improved the plastic compared to the older ones. We're just going to go till it stops. I think it has stripped. I think it has broke the tab off. I'm hardly putting any pressure on. But it's just spinning, so yeah. That mounting screw is a problem with these CTM lowers. It's putting hardly any pressure on there and it's stripped it. It also hasn't gone in perfectly straight. So yeah, they need to look at that and they need to improve it. It's not going to go anywhere though. That will have to do. Have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, it's the same across all the CTM lowers I've found. So with all that fitted, we now need to pop the hammer assembly in. This spring's still bent. Crappy springs for you. Hammer assembly, what I tend to do is I rotate it onto the trigger bar and then bring it down, line it up. Everything should be fitted properly. Nothing sticking out. Why are you not going in? There we go, it's just a bit tight. Just a little bit tight. There we go. In we go. 2 pins. First pin, where's my hammer? There it is. And the second pin. And what I'll do is I'm just going to lean this against my body. And just tap that pin in. Like that. That pin can go in a little bit further. Oh. We're good to go, so we can test the trigger. So we've got quite a bit of take up there, as you'll see. And the way that we're going to remove that, we're going to do it counterintuitively. So we put the Allen key in and we spin it backwards instead of forwards. And that backs the screw out towards the trigger bar. Get a little bit better. Do we have a 1.5 Allen key? Is that a 1.5? I hope it is. Yeah. So give that a turn. Still a bit more take up. Spin it out till it hits the trigger bar. So you see now we've got hardly any play in the trigger. That's good. Now if you get that where it won't reset, just back it, you know, forward in a little bit. You've gone a little bit too far. But that resets nicely. We've got a bottoming out screw. So obviously we're right on the wall there. There's no take up whatsoever. So there is quite a lot of space at the back of the trigger. Now you'd want to Loctite this in place so it doesn't move. It's not super important, the backstop on triggers. You want to get the bite set. Having these backstops isn't the end of the world. So yeah, they can come out a fair bit. It is really loose in that trigger, so I can just do it by hand. So you definitely want to Loctite that in. It just basically stops you from doing any kind of over travel on the trigger. So right, we've got the trigger fitted. I'll obviously, like I said before, I'll come back and I'll do hammer components and other bits and pieces when I get the parts that ready. We can now fit this onto the upper. Like so. And you can see now it's starting to turn to something looks a little bit better. We can test the trigger. So let's do it together. So you'll see where I mean, it's so good. You'll see where the reset is. Where the reset is, I'm right on the wall again. So what this will enable you to do with a trigger like this is be even quicker on the trigger. So yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? We've got the upper set, we've got the red dot on, and the only thing we've got left to do is to start messing around with the magazine and get one of these cool magazine extensions fitted. So we'll do that in the next video. I don't think I've left anything out. I think that's pretty much most of the components that I've ordered done. I will need to do the extended magwell when those parts come into stock with CTM. Let's get rid of all this rubbish because we don't need it. Make sure we're not chucking anything away. That's a spare. I've got baggies here which we'll use for the grub screws. So thanks for tuning in to part 2. It's coming along nicely, isn't it? There's a tiny bit of play in the upper and the lower, but yeah, it's extreme. A lot of the weight's in the front, but this thing is so light, and when you put the mag in, it kind of equals out the weight distribution. Can we test where the center? Yes, it's still towards the back there. So the center of gravity is going to be round about where the trigger is, I think. Yeah, so if you can't see this, I'm not touching the piston, I'm literally just holding it with a thumb and a finger. So the center of gravity is right where this pin is on the trigger. So it's a good, nice weight distribution. And that thing is an absolute monster. Bear in mind, we haven't short stroked it, we haven't done anything fancy with the spring guide and anything like that. We're still using the standard spring on the nozzle, which I will have to change. So we'll leave it there for this part because it's getting long. Let me know in the comments below how you like this build so far. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out the links in the description below if you can. It'd be heavily appreciated. And as always, from me and Bench, and a very nice looking pistol, we'll see you in the next one.